Do you want to know how to level up quickly and earn a bunch of money and items in Dragons Dogma 2? Farming is great if you want to switch things up and get a full picture of what the game has to offer, because anytime you change to a new vocation, you don't see exactly what it is capable of until you have a majority of the skills unlocked. So with that being said, here are some of the best ways to gain XP and money, as well as some tips on how to get the most out of each farm, meaning you can get all of those skills, level ups and gear so you can have some fun. Let us know what class you're planning to level up next and why. And before we get into the actual farms, there are some essential things that you need to know that the game doesn't actually tell you. You may want to consider farming on the Warfarer vocation, as leveling up this class will actually allow you to level up all of the other vocations at the same time, because as you level with the Warfarer, it gives passive discipline to the other vocations, thus leveling them up. We aren't sure if there's any trade-offs here, but what we've been doing is playing as the Warfarer and just using our Thief weapon and Thief skills as if we're playing the Thief. So in terms of playstyle, you can keep it to your favorite thing, but gain XP on everything else. There's also a pinned comment with a guide on how you can get the Warfarer, including early on, so check that out in case you don't have it. Another amazing tip if you're playing in New Game Plus is that you can visit the Dragon Forged and get a buff to increase how much XP or discipline you gain for a day. So this will make leveling up your class of choice way more effective. The Dragon Forged is located here on the map, near Back Batal, near the shoreline, so come here if you want to get those buffs. On top of this, you should be aware that there is a ring that you can purchase for Seeker tokens that will boost how much discipline points you gain, and if you get the bow from defeating the Medusa, you will get a 400% XP buff, making level farming way faster. So grabbing those will be very helpful, but of course isn't necessary. Each of these farms that we'll go over are good at different things and suited to different types of players depending on how far you are in the game. So let's start with a farm great for early game if you've just started, and then we'll go over some more later game ones. So this is probably the easiest farm out of the bunch, and you can basically do this at level 1 for a ton of XP. All you need to do is make your way to Melve and go to the tower at the back with the giant ballista on top. If you're doing this during the daytime, you will quite often spot a griffin, and the great thing about this griffin is that it lands in the exact same spot each time you encounter it, so if you wait a little bit and look to the north, you will see the griffin landing there. Once it has landed, it will be super easy to take down with some shots, and after a couple hits you will kill it, getting 7k XP and around 200 discipline points, which is actually very good early game for how fast and easy this is. If you then want to respawn it to repeat this process, you just need to sit down at any of the nearby benches or rest at the inn, and it seems like big enemies will respawn once their body has decomposed, and this can take anywhere from 3 to 7 in-game days. Sometimes it can be more depending on the enemy type, but if you quickly spam the doze off button while sitting on a bench, you can cycle through this very quickly, and then it will just respawn so you can repeat the process. This is an amazing farm for early game XP and discipline points, but it isn't the most effective if you've already progressed further in the game. If you don't like the idea of cheesing this with the ballista, you can instead just run over there to get up close and personal and thus get the drops as well, but if you purely want just the XP and discipline points, then use the ballista and farm this guy early. Next up, we have another thing that you can do in Melve to earn a ton of money, and it's by using a classic farming tip of buying low and selling high. For this farm, what you need to do is purchase apples and grapes from the potion shop vendor in the town. The potion vendor is located here, and you can purchase the apples by going to the curative tab in the shop menu. Just buy the maximum amount that he has, and then let them ripen by sitting down on a bench. You can then either travel to Batal or the checkpoint rest town to then sell the items, which you bought them for 50, and you can now sell them for 350 each, giving you a massive percentage gain in the money you spent. The most common vendor you can find in the checkpoint rest town is called George, and he is a wandering merchant, so you might need to wait around for him to appear if you don't see him. But we personally have found that he isn't there all of the time, and it's not super common, so you might have better results going to Back Batal and selling to the vendors there, so you don't have to rely on the RNG. If you want to do this method as effectively as possible, what you can do is store these stacks of fruit in your bank and then retrieve them once you get to the town where you want to sell them. The vendor in town seems to restock basic items like the apples and grapes 1 every 12 hours of in-game time, so by resting for around 3 days, that should be enough to fully reset his stock, allowing you to continually buy, ripen, store, and then buy again and loop this process. In-game, it does say that items in your storage will stay fresh. However, our items in our storage are definitely going rotten as time passes. Is this happening to you guys, or is this a New Game Plus thing? We're not too sure. Another cool thing to note for this process is that you can actually get a discount from this vendor by giving him gifts until he likes you, and you can give 1 gift per day to increase affinity. To do this, just give him some monster parts or fancy items like gems, of course the rarer the better, but again, keep in mind you can only gain affinity once per day, so don't give more than 1 gift per day, and you can always rest at the inn to skip a day and repeat this process until you have that discount. For this next farm, we'll be saying goodbye to Melve, as this is one of the more popular farms in the community at the moment and can earn you a bunch of resources depending on what your in-game world will spawn for you in this farm area. It seems like the farm actually is quite inconsistent depending on the person and your save, so it is a little bit different for everyone. To do this, we're going to need to head to this camp on the map, which is actually near the checkpoint rest town. To get here, you will need to follow this route, which starts at the town, and then you head down towards the path that intersects with the river. By dropping down and heading up north, you can then hug the dirt path next to the river, which will lead you into a cave with a bunch of enemies. Just run past these and head through this cave until you reach a cliff, climb up, and then go down the winding path. Make sure to be careful when walking over this fallen tree so you don't fall off, and this will lead towards a camp. This camp is going to be our base of operations for this farm. So for this one, what you're going to do is slay the monsters in the area up ahead, and the monsters that spawn here seem to be quite different for everyone, so they might not be the same that you see in this video, but there will be some monsters here for you. For me, next to the camp, there was always a Cyclops that spawns close by, and then once you get into the mist area, there was 2 Minotaurs and a Chimera. The Chimera was a one-time spawn for us and did not respawn, but the Minotaurs and Cyclopses were indefinitely repeatable, giving you 2 to 5k XP each, as well as the monster parts that they normally drop. For some people, this spot is actually an infinite fairy stone farm, as the creatures do have a chance to drop that. But for us, we haven't been so lucky in our farming runs, and it does seem quite rare. So now you're probably wondering how you can get these monsters to respawn. Well, a good thing to know is that monsters generally don't respawn until enough in-game days have passed, where their body has decomposed, and then they're able to spawn again. So if resting doesn't respawn them for you, what you want to do is rest a number of days and then save your game, go back to the title screen and load back in. When we've tried this across both of our different saves, this has worked and caused all of the big bosses to respawn in this area. Other people have said that walking deeper into the zone past the mist area where the goblins spawn also has helped the bigger monsters respawn. From our own personal hours of testing, we have found that to consistently get this to work, you want to set up camp and rest for 8 days, and then go back to the title screen and load back in, and this has always caused them to respawn for us. Another technique we've found is that by going back to any major town or city and resting at an inn has also caused them to respawn, but that is a bit of a longer journey. Do note that bringing higher quality camping kits does seem to reduce your chances of being attacked or raided while resting, and you should definitely bring a few of these anyway, because sometimes when you get attacked, they will be consumed and you don't want to run out of camping kits, so we recommend bringing a bunch of these and shoving them on your pawns so the carry weight doesn't weigh you down. A really massive tip if you plan to do this a lot is to get this augment from the trickster called Fugacity, I think that's how you say it, and this will actually reduce the chances of you being attacked while camping or riding ox carts, and from our testing, this made a huge difference. Do not sleep on this augment for farming. On top of this, we would recommend bringing thieves in your party that have the plunder skill. This means they have a chance to steal items, and fairy stones are an item that is stealable here, so this is something you want to do. We have an extra bonus for you guys, and it's that you can actually farm Wakestones by using this simple trick. If you go to any rift stone, such as the one in Vernsworth, the capital of Vermund, you can interact with the stone and then use the search function to search for pawns at a very low level, around level 1 to 2. You then check the pawns that spawn in the rift and see what quests they have available, and some of them will have a Wakestone shard quest if you hire them into your party. To get this item, you just need to travel with them for a day and night, and what you can do is hire them into your party, leave the rift, and then cycle a day and night on a bench or at an inn to automatically finish the quest and give you the Wakestone shards very quickly. You can rinse and repeat this as many times as you want, and you can quickly see if a pawn has this quest in the rift if you tab over to the information panel. Next up is a farm that only requires defeating one monster, but will earn you between 5 to 10k gold per run, 6000 XP as well as discipline points, making it great all around. It's also very easy to do, so this is quickly becoming one of our favorites. This is located near the camp next to the Sphinx Shrine, which is here on the map. If you haven't explored the ancient battlegrounds section of the map in this area, here is the route for you because you will need to go through this area to get to this camp, which is where you can do the farm. So, starting from the checkpoint rest town, you can follow us along in order to get to this spot. Once you finally get here, what you want to do is take out the golem. These are actually very easy to defeat, and all you have to do is target the glowing weak points with physical damage by climbing on them. For each weak point that you destroy, you will be able to loot a magic medal on the floor. These medals sell for around 1,200 gold each, and you can sell any extra ore you get from defeating him too. So defeat him, get all of the medals, and then run back to camp and rest for 3 to 5 days, and this will cause the golem to respawn, allowing you to repeat this process and farm the golem back to back to back. From our testing, this farm has always worked for us, so hopefully you won't have any problems doing this too. Here's some quick tips to make this even more efficient. You can put down a port crystal next to the camp, so you can fast travel back here anytime you need to farm some money. You can hire a bunch of thieves into your party, as these will climb all over the golem and go straight for those weak points every time, making it super easy and fast. You can also get a pawn with the specialization of Hawker in your party, allowing you to quickly sell items if you don't want to leave this area to repeatedly farm it. The easiest way to find a pawn with this specialization is to look in the official pawns section of the Rift and look for Paradise, which is our official pawn, so he can join you in your party and you can actually sell items to him when you're in camp with a very heavy load. Some of you might be wondering why we haven't mentioned the Crumbling Ruins area in Batal, where there is a bunch of golems. But in our world, across both of our save datas that we've tested, we could not get these to consistently respawn. We've also looked around the map for other areas with more than one golem, but we haven't found one yet, leading us to think that this area by the Sphinx is probably the best location to farm a golem back to back. But if you know of a better area or a completely different farm that you think is great, tell us in the comments down below so we can all learn together as a community. And make sure to subscribe for more Dragons Dogma 2 coming your way very soon.